Wow, guys, I apologize for that echo. I didn't even notice it was coming through on two lines until right about the end there. My apologies. Um, let's see who we got. We got Adam K. We got the Malevolent Rider. We got Darrow Odell. We got the Unholy Mole. We've got Saki the Real. We got Data Wasteland. What else? What else? Anybody? Anybody? We got a couple of bots in there just fucking about. One of them's pissing me off today. One of them is pissing me off. So, I've been trying in the background to, on the bot that you guys use, let that just run, but have one in the background that was also collecting for everybody that was here for long periods of time. And apparently, in one of my settings, I screwed something up, and when I went to fix it, I reset the program, and then again, and that didn't work, so I inevitably had to clear out the whole list of whoever had anything just to try and straighten it all out, and I think I screwed it all up. So, I'm gonna have to reset all that and just do something nice for everybody that has showed up in here on the other bot as it starts to come about. Still learning how to use it. There's a lot of stuff in there. Also, I went through and fixed some of the spacing in the auto responses. You'll see there with Darrow Adele dick punching the bot. There's spaces there. It's easier to read now. Oh, what else did I do? I'm just trying to make little changes in here and try to prepare things for a better show. I don't know how much better this show can get, but I'm always trying. I'm severely trying. But with that, I think we have a board I can put up here. Yep, there's the board.
Welcome to the Great Debate.
Yes, I agree, Saki. Needs more bots and Vagine. I always work on it. I invited a few new people in yesterday. Hopefully they're out in the audience. If they are, hello and welcome. Hope you enjoy the show. Also, I think let's see. Let me get into. I was checking out irate Bear's Discord, trying to invite him, but I think he missed that altogether. So, okay, that happens. I'm not gonna be an asshole over it. Oh, and because I don't have the furnace running, I can turn the gate down so that it doesn't keep cutting my voice out on you guys like some sort of asshole or something there. And I am now in the Great Debate Room in Discord if anybody would like to join in for one of these or some of these or however we want to go. But until then, we had, and there it is again, transportation. What do you know? Will there come a point when we make roads out of other materials as opposed to concrete and brick? Example, the new solar roadway designs. So, as I try to figure out which chat is going where and why, creator tips, that's new. No, it's not. Creator tips has been there. It's just not picked a lot. I've been watching Thunderfoot for a while now, and I do enjoy his more scientific videos, to be honest, over some of the SJWs that he did. Just because he's smart in a way that his intelligence is awesome, and he did a few videos on the solar roadways, and he's been watching them and just picking up footage of how they're reacting to the snow and the weather, sunny days and things like that. And they're absolutely jaw-dropping. The lack of, what would be the word? The lack of consideration for the elements and testing for how this works to be able to do that. They didn't even, it doesn't even seem like they put a whole lot of effort into the project of the solar roadways. In addition to the fact that when you look at them, the glare from the sun and other things, you're never going to be able to see the lights in time. I don't think there's really a way to make solar roadways without a glare either, because the whole point is to catch the sun Um, Tarmac. That's that thick black stuff, right? We Some areas do roads differently around here. If you go down the East Coast into like South Carolina and Virginia, you'll find the roads near the coast. You'll find areas that have like cobblestone set roads that have like concrete over them, sort of level them out, and it's a weird feeling. And then we have we have basic blacktop. That's what a lot of our roads are. The funny thing about blacktop is it looks all nice and black when it goes down, but even the color fades away over the first couple of years of sun, and it starts to turn more of a darker gray. Not when it dries, but as the conditions get to it. Maybe that's because I live in the Northeast and we also salt all our roads, but I don't know. As for moving past, I think what I want to see is I want to see a more indestructible material. Something that is a road still has to be porous, or the rubber that goes across it will slide and you'll have far more accidents. But at the same time, that porousness allows, yeah, right there, allows the water to get inside, and it erodes and it cracks and it splits. And in a cold area, or an area where the temperature swings below 32 degrees or zero, depending on how you want to look at it, and ice freezes, when the water gets into those cracks, it expands and it loosens it up little by little, and then more water gets in and expands farther. More water gets in and expands farther until you have yourself a pothole because it just broke apart from the expansion of the water. I've seen a lot of areas try to do weird seal coating tricks to the roads, and inevitably what that does is nothing. Within a year or two, the seal coating gets ripped off before the concrete, and then the water fills it in, and then it breaks apart. In Indiana, you're known for our roads mostly bumpy. Then there's still a few brick roads out there, which are awfully cool, but again, they break apart. Are they easier to fix? Probably not. That's probably that's a lot more work. Illinois roads, I can't tell you a state that I've been in that the roads are wonderful. And I think what it comes down to is there are so many more roads now than there were when we started out with all this transportation, and they're always putting in more roads. Plus the cost of the supplies is increasing, so they can't fix the roads as often. And so instead of your highways being regularly maintained and fixed every couple of years, they have to go, okay, so we can only afford to do this much of the highway this year, and next year we're going to have to do this much, cutting it back. I don't think everybody understands that you want the value of the money that you have to increase, not decrease. And as everything keeps going up, the value of money is decreasing. And as the value of money decreases, it takes a lot more of it to do what you want to do. So what you would have spent to repair an entire section of highway will then get you 80% of that. And then a few years later, it'll get you 60% of that. And a few years later, you'll get 40% of that. So where you used to be able to maintain a road without problem, now to maintain that road costs 2.5, 3 times as much to get the same condition. And people can't afford that. If you want to afford your roads to be higher, taxes got to go up. And I'm sorry, I pay enough taxes where it's borderline. Taxes go too much higher. I got to give up something I keep up to date on my house. I need to paint it. I need to do other things to keep my house up to par. If I don't do that, my house isn't worth what you're taxing it on. In which case it ends up like other places that I've seen where it becomes so dilapidated that the value of the property starts dropping again, but the taxes keep going up because you're not getting the same value out of them. It's not making sense. But as for roadways again, other things that I see in backwoods areas, since I don't live near a city per se, is you'll see some farm roads that use what's called tar and chip, or they'll use tar and chip is basically they'll drive a sprayer down the road, and then they'll lay out gravel across the tar that they spray down, and then they'll run a roller over it to press it, and then you have gravel flying up when you drive down the road. It's fun. Yeah, what does the government do that makes a lot of sense? That's a real good question, and I don't have an answer. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And Marty comes first. But Rick, it was in the Back to the Future reference. We executed our timer on this. I do want to point out the fact that while I think the solar roadways are an awesome idea, I don't think there is any material that we can create right now that will both be transparent, porous, but not overly porous. There's no combination of materials that you can put down on a road that will withstand the conditions that it will be put to. When you drive down a road, you don't give a damn about the road you're driving on as long as you don't hit a pothole. You know? But when you drive down a solar road, you're going to start to have to give a crap more because the road could change on you or something. And that, I don't know. I don't think we need solar roadways as much as maybe we need, in trains, when a train is coming up on a town, there is a sensor in the track that detects that the train is coming, and it sets down the guards to prevent you from crossing train tracks, okay? What needs to happen is, since most cars are becoming smart cars and people have smartphones, when an accident or something comes up, an alert needs to be sent to the person's car or phone in an auditory mode to let the person know that they're coming up on something they need to be aware of. If I was driving down Interstate 40 across country, and all of a sudden my phone came up and said, 1 mile ahead, accident, please move to the right lane, I might pay attention to that a little bit more than some flashy glare coming off the road. So, there's that. But, now that I've rambled on that for a bit, what else can we talk about? Somebody said sci-fi. Do I have sci-fi? I didn't put sci-fi on the board. What's going on in here? Solar roadways might not be sci-fi. Maybe what they need to do for solar roadways is find people travel down the road. You stay in your lane for the most part unless you're switching to pass somebody. If you can integrate something down the centers of the lanes that wasn't the entire center of the lane, that was patches maybe of a little red bump in the road that somebody could drive over, that turned on to let people know there's danger ahead. So if you're flying down the highway at 65 miles an hour, all of a sudden red lights start heading your way down the road, you start slowing down because that's what people do when you see red lights. I can sit here and come up with ideas for hours on how to improve, but the wild fox appeared and said, Internet. Why would someone choose to be on the internet with the knowledge of how badly it can mess up your life and personal information? Gee, this is a... Hey, Facebook, thanks for giving me material for my show. I appreciate it. What's the point of getting online if the moment that you decide to log in, some asshole out there is going to sit and track your location? Oh, look, they made a purchase on Amazon. I now have their credit card number. Oh, look, they paid their credit card. I now have their bank account number. Oh, look, they deposited funds. I now have their paycheck information. It's come to a point where anything and everything you do online is seen, looked at, considered. It's compiled into this huge algorithm of data to be sold off to other companies that want that information, or to be stolen by people who are smart enough to get it. And once they have it, what they do with it is up to them, and fighting some of that is damn near impossible. You'll lose your job in some cases. You'll lose your bank accounts, your credit cards, your ability to rent, buy anything. And it gets worse from there. I've heard some bad cases, and I've heard some not so bad cases. So if knowing that getting online and creating an email and logging into Facebook and Twitter and doing some of your shopping could potentially and very easily ruin your life, why are people so willing to do it? I'm more than willing to sit here and create fake accounts knowing that even my fake accounts can be infiltrated and more information can be found out about me than I care to know. But I'm still here. I understand it and I'm here. Some people don't understand it and they're here. Other people understand it and use it as their strength and our weakness. So, it's safer than drugs. The internet is sometimes safer than drugs. Both might force you to kill yourself or want to kill yourself. So I don't know if it's really a whole lot safer than drugs. The internet is risk-reward thing. Yeah, there's a lot of risk with very little reward. You don't know the risk and you understand the reward. Wait, what? I'm out. Gets up and off to go refill my popcorn and soda. Okay. Oopsies, I should check my bank account. Yep. If you got anything, throw some in savings. Make sure you lock it down somewhere safely. Drugs, fuck that. I can't type today. This is so shit. I have to leave my seat. And my boulders. I have had my identity stolen 3 times. They were always disappointed. There's that. Why does anybody do something so why does anybody do something destructive? Thrill. To seek out the thrill and the reward. It's too stupid. Yeah, it is a bit stupid, but it is, honestly, think about this. Facebook was in the process of trying to acquire medical information for the users and link it to the user's account to make it easier to access their information. Now, if you're going to link someone's medical information to their social profile, and let's say somebody doesn't like you, but they find out information about you, let's make this all up. Let's say my name really is Boris, and let's say I'm allergic to nuts. And somebody decides to nicely send me some oatmeal raisin cookies and says there's no nuts in them. And I thought, okay, I'll bite into one. And I go into shock. They find out this information because it's linked to my Facebook profile, and they're following me on Facebook to see what stupid things I do. Oh, look, I just found out he said he was allergic to this. I'll send him nuts. Granted, it's at a low end of vindictivity, but it's prosecutable. It's an attempt to cause harm. It's something you can do because they all of a sudden have your personal information and your public information and now your health information because they so choose to go after it. Do you see what I'm saying? And some people don't realize that the risk of logging into these sites and saying, oh, I'm this person, let me put my real name on here, even if I don't add any of my other information, Facebook goes, oh, well, so-and-so says they're your friend. So you're friends with so-and-so, and so-and-so says you're married to them, and so-and-so says you're their son, and so-and-so says you're their dad. Well, now they have everything they need about you. Everything. They can go from there, they can search your family, see if your family left something open for them to find. Once you find one address, a family, and a name, you can do free searches and find out so much information about somebody. With one family member and one address, you can find out pools of information. It's scary. In addition to the fact that just buying something online in the wrong way, or let's say even using your phone with the automatic pay where you swipe it over something, people have devices that can read that and you can easily lose your information. all these new safety features they put in also create new ways to bypass the safety features that they put in. So it's not as safe as people think it is. Thank fuck I have no Facebook in those red flag days, day one. I have 2 Facebook accounts. I have my private account, yes, and I never gave any personal information to it. And then I have my NumbedSkull account, which is fun because I'm trying to test what Facebook does with my NumbedSkull account, and they're failing. They're failing horribly. I'm very close to deleting both just from what I've found so far with how quickly it tries to track and assign where I am, even though I've told it I'm somewhere else. So that bothers me. Alright, here we are back at this wonderful board. I keep saying it may be changing soon. I think I really might be changing it soon. I haven't stopped to put a whole lot of thought into it. So, what are we doing, Boris, next? Hi, Shadowcat. How are you doing today? The internet is not a truck of peace. They don't need your name. They assign you a number. Okay, granted, they assign you a number, and they don't need your name. All it takes, and this is where, they've thrived on it. All it takes is Facebook to have that little amount of information that somebody else gives. So even if somebody doesn't give a picture or information, your friend or family member may tag you in that picture, and that automatically makes you a part of that. Now they have a picture of you to assign to your profile, whether or not you know it. And every little thing everybody does is getting compiled. And when you compile enough information, you can really build a person's entire life around that information. You invited a few. Awesome. Invite more people to come along. Anybody want to throw me another topic to talk about here? I appreciate that, Shadowcat. Technology from Darrow Odell. Why didn't that work? Technology's not working. Is our access to technology stagnating new ideas? New desire to create when desires are fulfilled. No desire to create when desires are fulfilled. All right, so let's break this down. We have a lot of what we need. If I wanted to sit here in this chair all day in front of my TV, my computer, my microphone, and whatever else, I could do that. And I could be perfectly content with myself. Oh. Did anybody else catch that? Hold on. Something's happening. Alright, are we good? YouTube says it's pooping. I don't know what is going on here. I just lost bandwidth to a lot. Wow, everything just flipped out on my system here. I went red. My internet's still connected. What is going on? I'm good. I'm good. Alright, if anything... Hello? Am I back? Stream resumed. Green line. Green. 29.97 frames per second. Green. Everything's back to normal. What the fuck is going on? Oh my God! That just dropped out. I think after the show today, I'm calling my ISP and ripping them a new asshole because they did this to me when I was watching a movie the other day. My internet just flat shit. I wonder if that's what happened. It looks like I am still having problems connecting. I am still... Yeah, but we will try and move on with this. I apologize, guys, for the hiccup. I don't think that was my fault. I think it was my ISP. Is our access to technology stagnating new ideas? No desire to create when desires are fulfilled. I would love to do a collab. Hit me up on Twitter. I would be more than content to sit here in front of my computer and happily play my games and talk to everybody and do the stuff that I do. But what new ideas am I coming up with outside of my new show? Am I coming up with anything that's going to improve on my ability to live? Am I improving on my own personal ability in any way? Or am I just improving on my ability to get ideas out? How is technology helping me? Am I fulfilled with what I'm doing here, and is that causing me to not use my mind on something else I could be doing? Could I be off creating some sort of more efficient way to fix brakes on a car? Could I be designing a new, more efficient way to support the weight of a bridge? I do have experience in other fields than computers, but here I sit on my computer and toil away with all this crap that apparently wants to hiccup on me. And I'm content sometimes to sit here. Is that contentness stagnating my ability to create something else? And if my ability, what about others' abilities who are smarter than me? Or others who have more ideas than me? Or to come up with ways to better the social interaction of people. We're not going to do that if our social interaction is not social. Right. So, nut neutrality. What is nut neutrality? No desire to create when desires are fulfilled. That's how desire works. Right. If I have no desire to create anything, what am I going to create? If I'm content here, I don't have a desire to go do something else. How am I improving upon things? That's where this one goes. And I think we're over the hiccup because everything seems to be smoothing back out again. I almost want to say, and not completely, because the internet is also creating new ideas, but I want to say that our access to the internet sometimes limits the ideas that we're able to get to. And the access to Netflix and to on-demand TV programming makes it so that a tweet pops up with a 2-minute video where people can't answer you who won the Civil War in the United States, but they can answer you who a character on a TV show is, and they're on a college campus taking courses. I can answer who won the Civil War, and I can answer who the vice president is, but I can't answer who's in that TV show. And what does that say? That while I can sit here and do this computer stuff, that it's still kind of a foreign world to me. If that makes sense to anybody. I like trying to build things that make my life easier. I like trying to fix things or improve upon things that I have that make things more convenient, more accessible, more safe for myself. And that's outside the internet. But I want my ideas to also get out, which is why I sit down on the internet. So it's really a weird back and forth. And yes, I will acknowledge that I have ideas. I have ways to improve things. So I sat down on the internet and I watched how other people did things, and I tried to come up with a way to improve upon the way these conversations are being had. Is it better or worse? Time will let me know, but this is what I've come up with. This is sort of a new idea based on other ideas that I've come across. But its impact is yet to be seen, I guess is what I could say. Is this a new idea? Are we not coming up with enough new ideas because people are just satisfied sitting here watching what other people come up with? I appreciate every one of you, but does you sitting here watching me contribute to you not creating another idea? Or does you sitting here watching me give you ideas to contribute new ideas? And that's a question I have. But we have expired our time. And as people like to remind me, the time's up over pow. And so I will move on. We're back at the board. We have Hunley in a chat for the first time. Welcome. And Bubonic for you. I think I said hello. If I didn't, hello to you. Anybody else pop in here that I haven't seen? Not sure if it's you or me buffering, skipping some, but the ability to talk to anyone anywhere now can lead to the spread of ideas. It's more just a matter of personal reflection. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Can you sitting here having exposure to YouTube, and people on YouTube like Sargon or Worski or Jordan Peterson or anybody you want to pick, can all of these contributing influences cause you to come up with new ideas to offer out to others? And those ideas will keep us from going stagnant. The internet seems like a double-edged sword to me. It helped fix me AC, but also how to do things too. How to do bad things too. Yeah, is the internet overwhelmingly used more for good or bad? And that'd be hard. It depends on your definition of good or bad. If porn is good, maybe the internet is overwhelmingly good. If porn is bad, maybe the internet is overwhelmingly bad. And I'm just using porn as one, standstill reference of a large portion of the internet. Okay, what are we talking about next? Is information a bad thing? That's what it all boils down to. Oh, information is good. Access to bad information is still good. The use of bad information is bad. So does access to bad information lead to use of bad information becomes the question. Oh, porn is good, so the internet must be good. Someone pick a category, says Daryl Odell. Yes, I believe that the consumption of internet is just as important as being a creator. Yes. Yes. If I wasn't first a consumer of other people's material, I wouldn't have come up with the ideas on how to create my own material. Same thing for like R.I.P. He goes through and watches other creators. Other creators come across news articles and feeds. People tweet things out for others to see, and that's how you gather. You look at how other people have done videos and go, well, this formula seems to work, and this formula seems to work, but this formula doesn't seem to be working. I'm going to try and lean towards something different. The people that watch you here, and it inspires them to create better ideas and content. It's a good thing. If people stagnate, that's on them, not on technology. I like that. That's a new input from Innocent Rush. Welcome to the chat. I appreciate you being here. Saki the Real yells out politics, so that's where we'll be going next. Info can be a positive or a negative depending on how it's used. Yep, that's exactly what I said. WikiSnow, every creator helps other creators. This is how YouTube community grows. Yeah, and right now especially, YouTube isn't as a company allowing for its self-publicity of its creators, so other creators have to promote some. In which case, I will mention there are a few people in my chat that I've started watching. Hunley, I've watched everything you have. Not some good ideas. I like the videos. I like the compilations. Obviously, audio is always a problem, even with me, even with as much as I've spent on it. Audio is a problem. But I do like the compilation videos that you've put out more recently. They are kind of funny in a light manner. And I missed what I was doing. Politics. Judges in America are nominated for life. Why would we want to keep judges for life? And also, maybe if somebody in the chat, since I don't have anybody here to talk to, if somebody in the chat from countries other than America could say yes or no as to whether or not their countries nominate their judges for life, or how does a judge get their seat? We just went through a Superior Court judge, which had to be nominated by the president, vetted by Congress, and approved by the Senate, I think is how that goes. I forget how all that. And we got a fuck no, not for life. And see, this is something I have a problem with. In the last few years, especially with the Trump thing, and Trump accusing his lawyer in one of the cases of being racist or biased because of his heritage and what Trump has said and other things like that, you wonder if judges were appointed for life and they just did what they had to do to get into their position, and once they got there, they kind of slowly went towards a different way of thinking because of all that they've been exposed to, thinking, okay, well, this is what it reads, but it could be interpreted slightly different, so that's the way I'm going to do it. Not, this is how I've learned to interpret it, but this is how I feel it should be interpreted. And that's, judges aren't supposed to go based on feeling. They're supposed to go based on law and precedent and settings. And it seems like more judges now, in certain cases, are not using the precedent. They're not using the laws and what was set forth before that case. They're deciding, upon my feeling towards this case and the current status of the society around us, I'm going to give this woman 6 months because she doesn't deserve to go to jail for 10 years for stabbing somebody in the leg. So, that's just an example. Probably a stupid one, but an example. The longer they're in, the more chance of corruption, firstly. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Even if not corruption, even if not outward corruption, think about when you get into a job. I'm trying to think of the word for it. You get set in your ways, and you start doing things, and complacent. You get complacent in what you're doing, and you stop thinking about the total outcome and start thinking about the impact you want to make. And that's where I really don't want to see judges continue. Well, their experience could lead them to make better decisions along the way. Sometimes their experience just leads them to go, I don't think I'm feeling right about the verdicts that I'm laying down, and I'd like to make a change to how this is done. And it's not their place to make those changes. It's their place to interpret. If they're not worried about losing their jobs, they don't have to worry about pleasing people. On the other hand, they're still human and are open to corruption. Yes, but judges aren't supposed to be worried about pleasing people. It's not the people you're pleasing. They're supposed to be dutifully carrying out the word, or not carrying out. They're supposed to be deciding whether or not the word of the law was broken or carried out. And yet, there are appeals for when you feel the judge wasn't right, but there's a lot more process to get a judge off the bench than to get a judge on the bench. Good morning, Lacey. Yes, good morning, Lacey. Welcome to the chat. Wildfire appears because laws need to change and get updates too. Yes. It's not the judge's concern to update laws. It's the judge's concern to keep up with the updates in laws as it applies to the cases that they're overseeing. It is the legislative duty to lay down the laws. It is the judicial duty to decide whether the law was broken or not, and it is the executive's duty to enforce that law being followed. I feel like I'm missing so many today. That's bot. That's what appeals are for. Mafeels. Yeah. Knick-knack. I just picked round removes any judge. One well-picked round removes any judge. Oh, one well-placed round. Some judges should be kept for life behind bars. Okay, yes. And it is up to their interpretation of the law. The thing is that we have to understand that judges you have to pass the bar most times and be a lawyer, and you have to have practiced for a while and shown that you're considerate. But then once you're made a judge, there's nothing there in 10 years that says, okay, we feel you've done poorly, or you feel you've done well, or we feel you should leave the bench. And you can't I know why they're nominated for life. You don't want to punish the judge for trying to carry out the sentencing of the law, or to figure out whether the law is right or wrong, because if people may disagree with the verdict but the verdict was legal, then that judge would lose his job for not appealing to the people. And if you wanted judges to appeal to the people, then mob rule would happen in courtrooms. And that's the reason judges, there's once you're made a judge, the burden of what happens to you is released. You're given a lot of leeway because we don't want to sway your verdict. We want you to be unswayed. We want you to be untouched by the things that may sway you. And in that, you're going to give us a true, honest verdict based on the law. And when that verdict isn't based on the law, what do? We have to go through paperwork, and then you have to file motions and go through the courts and see about getting the judge removed. And it is a hell of a process. We understand the reasons why that process is there, to protect their viewpoint on the law, for them to hold the law to the highest standard and not be swayed or objectified by outside sources. Judges keep an eye on each other too. Yes, judges converse on bigger cases. Jury handles judgment there. Yes, but also you have to remember they may obviously talk about details of a case, but for the most part, when they discuss cases either amongst each other or with others that is not in the courtroom, they are not allowed to discuss the details of the case, only the surroundings of the case. So they'll be able to discuss what the law is and what and how the law can be broken, but they can't discuss what the defendant has decided to use as their case and all that information. All that's in the courtroom. They try to they're supposed to go off of the law and the terms of the law, and not the person who's being charged with the crime. Excuse me. Evidence as well. They are the ones allowing or dismissing evidence as well. Yes. And after the fact, cases can be reviewed. There is systems in play for when people think they have been wronged, or it wasn't looked at properly, or more can be done, or something wasn't seen, or something was tossed out that should have been valid. There are ways to go, well, I feel like this wasn't done right. I want to try this again because of this not being done right. And when you appeal, you do need to, I believe, put a motion for appeal. It has to have a substantial reason for the appeal, not just, I didn't do it. Your appeal has to say, well, there was evidence that wasn't considered, or the judge didn't look at this, or these weren't allowed in the case and I feel they should have been. Do you want another Judge Isaac Parker? No. With all honesty, I'm not sure who Judge Isaac Parker is off the top of my head. It's the Parker. Judge Parker sounds familiar, but I'm not entirely sure who it was. My mouth is getting dry. It's getting harder to talk. And a judge's history follows them. Yes, the convictions and things that a judge has, and the cases that they see over, that follows their history. But that history doesn't do anything unless that judge is trying to get into a higher judgeship. The hanging judge. Okay. I'll have to look that up a little later here. Let me write that down before it disappears. Isaac Parker. I spend too much time on the internet, guys. I really, really spend too much time on the internet. But yeah, about senility, what happens before death too? Yeah, I'm sure, not positive, but I'm sure there are ways to say, look, this judge might need to be checked. He might not be fit to sit on the bench anymore. They're supposed to recuse themselves, but you know how that is. People aren't always honest with how they feel, and sometimes they don't understand what they feel isn't what they felt. Anyhow, time. Yes, we're back at the board. Innocent Rush, no worries. I always mess things up too. I'm messing crap up all the time. Look at my intro. My intro was all screwed up because I forgot to move one bar to the left. Found one more person who be watching. Oh, in the green room. Hey, Saki. And it looks like I got somebody. Innocence Rush. Let me get you some roles to move about my Discord server.
Hello.
Hello, Saki.
How's it going, everyone?
How is everyone? It puts... Oh, somebody did it. Who did it?
What was it? Come on, what was the word? I've been hunting for that bloody word for ages.
Oh, somebody's gonna make me shut the bot down.
Nice.
Oh.
Controversy.
No, it was ointment.
Controversy. Oh dear.
It was ointment.
You said a white substance.
Yeah, ointment is a white substance.
It can be any colour.
Yes, it can, but it's also white. Is the bot still going? Did it stop now?
I think it stopped. That's good, I broke the thing.
I need a new word now. Somebody put the bot on the fritz with the word appointment. I would say it's not simply the appointment of judges, but the laws as well. Wait, you don't have to be logged in to get roles, do you? Oh, I just joined up so I can have this server saved. I'm just hanging in the YouTube chat for today. Innocent Rush, in my server, when you come in because of some small security problems, you sit in the field with the Valley of the Shadow of Death. And when you come into the server, you just get uprated to an undead role. That means you're a regular in the server. You just kind of chilling out in there to hang out. If you are more, if you're a creator, you're free to post your videos, and I will upgrade you to an oracle, which is a creator. And you just go from there. And the bots are also in the Discord, so have fun, except for the one that does ointment. Okay, that's the funkiest nightbot I've seen so far. The Malevolent Rider. Purple ointment! Actually, that's the second time we've fritzed the bots out. The first time was with the word purple because of an accident, but it turned out so funny when it happened. I came up with a new word and put it in there. And so we have the bots that fritz out in the chat.
What so you have bots that break?
I have bots that break, and they have been broken. Saki, would you like to pick the next and probably the last one for today's show?
Yes, let's go for the obvious one. Mainstream media.
Oh, let's talk about them. Why do some news organizations or stories not explain more in depth on stories using facts and studies as opposed to polls?
Because they're bloody lazy.
You know, this comes to light when you do a lot of research on this. The internet polls, if I were to jump on Twitter right now and poll my 114 followers, what kind of true answer could I come up with? If half of them answer, let's say 50 people answer the poll, and half of them decide one way and half of them decide the other way, am I supposed to say because of these 50 people, the whole country, the whole world, representative of these 50 people, feels 50-50?
You can say what you like, it's your poll.
But that's the point of a poll.
It doesn't make it right, obviously, because it's such a small sample.
Right, and if you're using polls, the news doesn't often take into account the sample size. They'll take into account a recent poll conducted by ABC organization says that if you drink 3 cups of coffee a day, you're gonna have a heart attack at age 45. Well,
yeah,
it's a poll, not a study. People say they thought this. What group are we polling here? Were you polling doctors or were you polling trash men? were you polling people just sitting home on the internet, or did you call people? How was this done? Where was this conducted? And they're using these polls of people's non-confirmable things instead of, well, let's look at these stats. Let's look at these figures and these profiles and some perspective as to the time and the correlations and things.
Right, the thing with these polls is if you ask somebody in the morning, what would you like to eat? Then ask them at night time, what would you like to eat? You'll get two completely different answers. So each person could give a different answer to a poll depending on the time of day, what's going on, what have you. So polls are completely subjective from the get-go.
Yeah. Not to mention that, I mean, even with studies, and this is a big thing, you have to look at what cast of net have you put out to poll people? Are you polling people in California for those who you're talking about in Florida? Are you polling across the nation for across the nation? Are you saying, well, we have 1,000 people we conducted this health survey on in Montana, so the Zika virus isn't affecting people in Virginia?
I've seen polls where they've said, everybody we've talked to has said this, and it's like they've talked about 20 people when you really look into these statistics. And how is that representative of the majority?
Right, and it is that. It's that it's representative of the people who are willing to partake in the poll to start with. And if you correlate that to voting, the people that are willing to take part in the poll might be the same percentage as those who are going to vote, but they might not be the same people as those who are going to vote. Somebody might not care about the poll, but absolutely care about going to the polls. And your beforehand approach at what you think people want because of those who sit at home on the internet but don't leave to go to the polls, and then what actually happens at the polls for those who don't sit on the internet but actually go, they're different. So your poll doesn't actually include those who are you're polling for.
And also, if there's somebody like me who accidentally gets in that poll, which happens a lot, then the answers I give are usually just nonsense.
I will tell you, I got a phone call from ABC or CBS or one of the news ones. Was like, we're doing a nationwide poll for da-da-da-da-da. And they started asking questions, and I was like, okay, what about da-da-da-da-da? Well, we can't answer your questions. You have to pick from one of the answers. But you didn't explain your question.
Yeah, some questions are closed.
Yeah.
Or very misleading.
And they can't give you any more. They're like, well, we can't answer that. You have to answer with just what we're allowed to say. So how accurate is that poll going to be when it itself is limited to its very definition?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really defining itself. It's very kind of open and can be translated in different ways. It could be.
If you brought me in a study that said in 2014, 52% of California voters voted for. In 2015, 53% of California voters voted for. This is an actual statistic. This isn't a poll. This isn't a partial representation. This is saying this is what happened. Let's take what happened and use it as a correlation for what's going to happen or what we're looking at. When you look at a poll, you can cherry pick the poll. Oh, I like chocolate, so I need to find a poll that says people like chocolate. I need to find some study that says that chocolate is good for you and use this to support my argument. And I've seen it happen.
I think it's fair to say that there's only one poll that I'm actually interested in studying, and that's the one with the woman dancing on it.
Oh, I love those polls. Especially when they're lubed down nice and well and slippery. It sounds like classic example of pushing polls. It gets the story of X doing thing X.
Shut up, Ryder. I don't care. I don't care if the time's up, Ryder. We're talking about women on polls.
We're talking, yeah. The conversation has completely gone tangent. We're leaving the board here, and we have gone somewhere else. Well, thanks for joining me even here at the end.
No worries.
I
I
want to
thought I'd do
toss
it.
a huge thank you out to our new people in the chat today, Hunley and Innocence Rush. Thanks for joining us. I'm also looking at my participants list for the moment. Wild Fox, Adam K, Daryl Odell, Data Wasteland, The Shadow Cat, and Malevolent Rider. Thank you everybody for being in here today. I appreciate it. What else is there to say? If anybody
Hail
in here...
chaos. Hail chaos. Always say hail chaos.
Hail Chaos. And if anybody in here would like to get on the show or would be so nice as to share the show out, it would be greatly appreciated. A lot of work is spent putting these together day after day, and never hurts to have people tear at my board. I want to thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will be back tomorrow at 2.